But anyway, my dad said to me, he said, you know, what do you want to do from here? Because we've got very little money from the sponsors. We've got, you know, you either want to do this or we stop here and call it. And so I'm like, how many times have I been here before? So I'm like, no, I want to keep going. And I remember after that crash, the organizers, they used to interview 3 of the drivers after the race, and they would usually interview the race winners. So they had they had the winner and the second place, and they said, look, I guess everyone's gonna be pretty worried. We want to get you in front of the crowd to show that you're okay. It'll be a good advert for the car, show that it's safe, you know, and give a talk. And I was like, yeah, okay. They were like, you sure you're okay to do that? Because I was pretty shaken up, and I'm the guy that's written off 2 cars in the first 2 races, so I'm like looking like an absolute loser. And so I don't really want to get up and talk but I don't want to really get up and talk to a load of people and, you know, tell them about, you know, that I'm actually not, you know, and this was being filmed live on ITV4. So all the races would go live on air. So there was loads of social media involvement, and every race on the TV. So, you know, it's quite a big pressure there. But I remember I just said, right, okay, what do you want to say here? You want to say that you're not going to give up and you're going to keep going. And I remember I just stood there and I said, as I'm listening to them talking, they're like, okay, Lucas is here to give a chat. And I'm like, I'm going to get on the podium this year. And I set the goal right then and there. I stood there. I was like, I'm going to get on the podium. I've just decided. That's it. And anyway, I got the microphone and everything. And everyone's like, you know, and I was like, you know, I'm okay. I'm fine. This is a huge knock. And the guy's like, look, where'd you go from here? And I said, look, to be honest, I've got no money left. My car is written off. Everything is stacked up against me. I should probably just give up. But I'm not going to give up. And I'm going to stand here right now and tell you that I will be on the podium before the end of the year. And everyone kind of like goes a bit quiet and is a bit like, yeah, okay, you know, because it just see me crash twice in huge spectacular fashion. I hadn't even got a top 10 practice result, you know, at that point. But I just knew that if I did what I'd always done, which is go back, look at where I need to improve, work, be the fittest guy, be the hardest working guy, I would get there. And sure enough, we changed teams. And they were a great team, really supportive. Got in with them, and I just went to work. And I've got like a simulator, so it's like a computer game, or you know, it's like a steering wheel with a screen and everything, and you can use it. And I downloaded all the tracks, and I would just be in, because we didn't have a lot of money to go testing. I would just go up into my room up there and just do laps and laps and laps. And even on race week
as well, isn't it?
Exactly. It's not like doing the real thing, but it's practice. It's something that I can practice. And I would have the race meeting on a Saturday, and I would have qualifying. I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go and do 100 laps on there, and then I'll get in my car, drive to the circuit. And I remember there was once where my coach said to me, he's like, you up for this today? You know, you feeling it? And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling it. I've already done 100 laps today. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I was up on my sim, and he was like, yeah, you know, okay. And sure enough, that time I qualified 4th, and that was the run. I'm starting to get better. And I got a couple of 4ths, and then I got like a 5th, and then I had another crash, but it wasn't a bad one, just a small one, and knocked my confidence again. But then sure enough, at Silverstone, so the second to last race, I'm going around and I'm in my qualifying run, and I've been in there since 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been in there practicing. And I was just all of a sudden, this guy's in front of me. And when you've got someone in front of you, you've got like something to chase. And he was just far enough away that I could sort of catch him. And I was like, this is the lap. And I've never, my strength in racing was always being good in the wet and being good in a race. Qualifying, like setting a really one lap really fast was never my strength. I remember I just went across the line. I was like, this is going to be a good lap. And it was like I went into like a different, like, I just almost kind of nothing. I wasn't thinking about driving. And I think maybe it was all the practice that I'd done, just like being in a zone of you know, on a computer. I just kind of went into that same zone. It was just like any other lap. There was no pressure. There was no anything. And I just went into this, not like trance, but like this zone where I just felt like I was just flowing. And anyway, across the line, I put it on pole position. And so first ever pole position. And then I came second in that race. So that was my podium finish. It was a great race. We went back and forth all race, but the guy that beat me deservedly beat me. He was better on in that race. So came
back to. So the people that you said, watch me, I'm coming back. So they're the ones that felt insecure and thinking, oh, how is that possible? Nobody can underestimate somebody's focus and the mind. So this is when you have to, like, this is exactly what you did. You didn't allow the noise to interrupt because you had the goal. And of course you put the work into it. So even though like you didn't have particularly enough money to do the races outside, but you practiced, you found alternative instead of saying, I'm not going to do that because of such and such. You actually think, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to practice 100 laps, going to make this happen. And then it's just the same. And then you won in your heart thinking, you know what, this is for me, this I'm doing for you. And the fact is just, you didn't have to say anything. You just like went on the podium, like,
yeah,
I said that. I told you so.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really good feeling. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to join you actually. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, what I would say there is that I think you summed it up really well. And I think that when you're faced with an opportunity in this counseling fitness as well, and I tell this to my clients all the time, you know, maybe if a client picks up a little injury or, you know, something, they get a little setback or something, and it's don't focus on what you can't do, focus on what you can do, you know. So I couldn't go out and do the testing because I had no money. So I could have been like, well, I'm never going to get there because all the other guys are doing testing and I can't do it. But I was like, well, I can't do that. But what can I do? I can be the fittest driver on the grid. No one can be fitter than me. I can practice harder than anyone else on my simulator, on my computer. And I can study the tracks more and I can work harder. So when I was at the track for the races, I was the first one in the office talking through the engineers through the data, because you always have data. They show you, okay, this driver is better you on the brakes here, and you're changing gear too early here. So I would be the first one in there and the last one out, and I would write notes, and I would read the notes before I went to sleep. I'd get up, I'd read the notes when I woke up, and that was what got me there. And I think in general, looking right back, you know, you have drivers who the first time they sit in a car or a cart or whatever, they're quick and they're fast. That was never me. Like I was never naturally talented. I think I had other natural attributes that helped me, but I don't think natural skill in that sport was something I was good at. I just really wanted to be good at it, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get there, you know. And so I think that's something I'd sum it up with is definitely able to work hard was probably one of my biggest strengths. And even if you're maybe not genetically gifted in something, and you know it goes the same in bodybuilding or anything, if you have an ability to work really hard, that can count for so much more. And you know, so yeah, and then basically, so that was kind of that podium was kind of the end run of my racing career. And unfortunately, what happened was, so I personally, I wanted to keep going until I was. My plan was this. My plan was I'm going to keep going, and if I get to 30 and I'm not doing it professionally, you know, that'll be the time when I take a step back. You know, so when I say professionally, I mean getting paid full time to do it. I was very lucky to have sponsors, and some years you get prize money and stuff. So we were able to put some back into the pot, if you know what I mean. But an overall net over the years, you know, me and my family are definitely at a loss at it, and the sponsors, you know, helped massively. But at that level, when you get to the level where I ended, which was, you know, a high level of motorsport, if you don't have sponsors, you can't go anywhere. And so unfortunately, what happened was at the end of that year, obviously, you know, my sponsor had been brilliant with me. They'd stuck with me, but they wanted to go in a different direction, and I wanted to go in this direction. And you know, basically, the way they wanted me to go was kind of like back a step. And I think it was because obviously, you know, it required more investment to keep going forward, and they didn't have it. And which is, you know, they'd support me so well for so many years. You can't be mad about that at all.
Yeah,
and so then, you know,
team as well. Your dad, Kevin, and then Peter, wasn't it?
Paul.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul. I remember that.
That's good.
That point.
No, that's great.
Great team as well to, you know, obviously get through to where you needed to do, because that's important to have the right people. And then I guess you just had to make a decision, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, support around you is huge, you know, and you'll know that. And you know what we do for other people is often give support. And so yeah, that was huge. So I'd had a great support when I work up until then, but it was getting towards the start of the season, and I was trying really hard to get sponsorships. I made because my niche was always, you know, like I'm into the fitness, but I'm also into the racing, and so I thought that's quite a good little niche that I can try and tap into for sponsors. So I hired a film crew, and we made a sponsorship video that was really good, really good. I really liked it. So, you know, and we put that out to as many people as we could. But it was just a tough time to get sponsored, and it didn't happen. And, you know, so it's a shame that my sport ended kind of not on my terms. And I definitely do, sitting here now, I definitely do look back and, you know, wish that I could have maybe done something differently to end it on my terms. But I still went out kind of at the top. I didn't go out at the bottom. And for me, the way I've kind of summed it up is I definitely, at one point in my life, I will revisit that sport. It's the way that I cope with that, because I kind of afterwards, I did find it quite tough there for about 6 months to cope, because so much of your, when you're involved in sport at that level, so much of your life is wrapped up in it. And so you start the year and you're like, this year, this is the goal. And so you start your year off with that plan. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're not competing anymore. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do this year? Like, what's my goal? And the training's still there. And like, okay. And I had a business, I was still working as a personal trainer in those years, from about 2015. So while I was racing cars, I was doing some kind of PT work on the side. So I had the business goals. I was like, I can grow the business, but that inner sportsman side is like, well, what's the goal? What's the goal? And my measuring stick was always, how did the last race go? And all of a sudden that's not there. So it was a really tough 6 months, and I found it really hard to adjust. But the way that I managed it in the end was, I'm going to revisit it sometime. And whether it's I think I want to compete again in the sport at some point. They do masters racing. So once you get over 32, you can then start competing in some master stuff. So I'd love to do that. Yeah, there you go.
Do you know, I never actually told many people, but like, if I could go back in another lifetime, I would like to do race driving. Because when I tried, so this is something people don't know much because I didn't post so much on social media.
Yeah.
Like, I love go-karting. I found it so good. And I actually won some of the little, like, awesome. Like whatever. Sorry?
That's awesome.
Because I was light, and I guess the smaller I was competing against the guys, and they were bigger. So I was like, I really got excited about it. Yeah. And then I went to Silverstone. So I did like kind of race driving, but I wasn't driving. So let the guy was mind blowing, Silverstone. I went to Abu Dhabi, watched, I think it was Hamilton winning that year. Was fantastic. It was years ago. And I used to drive like Lamborghinis, motorbikes. Like second driver, like I love cars so much. I love motorbikes, and like talking to you is just like really interesting, because I thought if I could go back another lifetime, I would love to do that. And I know one girl who is a racer. So now, because of the lockdown, she can't do that kind of stuff. So I asked her, how you coping, and she's super cool. I was like, oh my God, this chick, So now talking to a guy, because not many girls do that. So it's amazing. The stuff you've done is absolutely incredible. Your mindset, your focus, the team, the attitude is so much to learn for people, and you had unwavering faith as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you felt like when you said on your last race, you just gave in. And you kind of had the belief is going to happen, if that makes sense. And everything was, when you started, there was happening like miracles for you, because it was it just happened naturally. Meaning, of course, you put the hard work, but I'm just saying you were supported so much in bigger picture. And now it's wonderful. Now you do this. And so tell me about your, I hope you don't mind. So is anything else would you like to share on the racing? And you did mention you're going to go back. Because this is
I'm going to go back.
Come on.
I'm going to go back. I will go back, definitely. Okay. So, whether it's when I'm 32 or whether or not, I will revisit it. I kind of used to say that I'll go back and maybe I'll do coaching, but I don't think that'll. I did a lot of coaching and racing anyway. Like, I helped a lot of the younger guys come up and through, and I loved that bit of the sport, and that's what got me into PTing as well. I think because I noticed I had an ability to, because I had always had to work very hard at the sport. I was never one that would just go out and be quick, because that's very hard to teach. Like, how do you teach someone? Well, I'm just fast. Like, I don't know how to describe it. But what I can teach someone is how I got there, because I know every little step I took. I got in the gym and I used to focus on this. And, I remember, all the little tips I used to tell drivers. And I used to really enjoy that, because you're sharing your wisdom with other people, and it kind of lets you relive it through them. But the more I thought about it, the more I think I definitely need to do it myself, even if it's just once. Just to revisit it. And I think I just need to feel like almost, maybe I'll never feel like it, but I kind of want to feel like the chapter's closed. And I don't feel like that at the moment, because it didn't end on kind of my terms. And I have so much love for the sport that it's something I think about all the time. And if there's anything that I dream about more than it's racing, like actually dream, like when I'm asleep. So it's funny, it's amazing. Maybe there's something to this. I mean, some people believe there's something to dreams, but I have a recurring dream that I'm getting ready for a race, and I can't get my stuff on. So like, we have a helmet, a suit, and I'm like, I'm struggling, and I'm like, I can't do the belt buckle up, and I can't get my glove on, and the race is starting without me. Like, I keep having, and I wake up and I'm like, oh my God. So maybe there's something to that. And I think probably what I look into that more than anything is it means that, maybe my race in general, in general terms, my race isn't over yet. And I think that's what I need to do. I need to, maybe if I can feel that my, I've had that last race and I've ticked that box, and close it on my terms, and I'd have to go out either winning or with a good result. So at one point in my life, it's something that I will revisit, and I will go at it just as dedicated and just as hard as I did the first time. You know, I won't do it just to do it. I'll do it to win. So, but yeah, so for now, I mean, that's a big part of my life. But over the last, that was 2017. So 2018 and all of 19, and then this year has been a lot more about, yeah, like my personal training business, growing in that, and yeah, and helping people in that world. So I mean, you know, I had yeah, I had a love for fitness as soon as I got into it from the start, and you know, I fell in love with it because of all the things it helped me do with my racing. So yeah, and I think I've thought about doing competitions of fitness because I've got that competitive edge. But you know, I actually did I don't know if you know this, but I did one of the sort of like the physique shows, like the one that used to compete in the WBFF.
Yes, I was going to ask you because I'm pretty sure you have competed once and you got great genetics. Is a compliment, like, you know,
thanks.
It's because it is important. Like, you know, we are being literally put on the podium and say, okay, you look good, and it's hard for, believe me, to choose a man to win. Yeah. Like I was in this position. I was actually marking as well once in a time. Like I think it was Denmark. I can't remember.
Okay.
Like, how do you choose from like 200 hot guys on there? and it's not that because they come across, you know, it's tough. It's really tough. So how did you find the whole experience? And like you said, being competitive is like, come on, it's one of the things you've got to do.
Yeah. I found it really great. I mean, to be honest, so the reason that it came about was actually because my girlfriend had said to me, she was like, she said to me one year, she kind of went through her own battle with mental health and all that kind of stuff. And so I was kind of helping her to get through all those things. And we sat down at the start of the year, and because I had always had like my racing thing, she'd always looked at that and thought, oh, that's really cool. And so she said to me, she was like, you've always had a thing, like I want to do something, you know, like I want to do something like that. And I was like, and I'd helped her, this is before I was a PT, I had helped her lose a lot of weight. So when she was at university, she put on a little bit of weight and stuff and was really unhappy. She came to me one day in tears and was like, oh my God, you know, I don't want to be like I am anymore. So I was like, okay. So I helped her with the weight loss. And this is actually where you come into the story a little bit, Sandra. You may not know this. Yeah. So,
yeah. So, I'm excited.
I said to her, I was like, look, well, you know, you're getting in better shape and stuff. So, you know, this is great. And we actually just then joined the DW gym in Cambridge, and you were there. So you were training there. And I remember.
What was the year? I started in 2000.
Yeah, 2013. This is 2013. So I remember you were there, and you know, great. And I remember she's like, wow, she's in amazing shape. I was like, yeah, she does all these like competitions and stuff. And so she was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And so anyway, we fast forward. This was like 6 months later, and so I said to her, she was like, well, I want to do like a thing, you know, like I want to do something. And I was like, what can I do? And I was like, well, and she'd always been into art and painting, and she'd also been into ballet, like really young age, into ballet, so like dancing. And yeah, so she'd always been really into that. So I said, well, you like art, you like ballet, that kind of stuff, and you're enjoying this training. I was like, why don't you do one of these shows? And she was like, what, like that the girl in the gym does? Meaning you.
Yeah, and I was actually training for WBFF, my first one, who I won, actually, that I won.
There you
go. That was my first one ever.
Yeah, there you go. So we'd seen you there prepping for it and everything, and both been like, oh my God, she's in amazing shape. And so yeah, so I said to her, why don't you do that? Why don't you do one of those shows? And she's like, I can't do that. Like, be honest, like she was someone who would struggle to like be in a bikini at the beach. You know, that's where she was at because of how she felt in her body. And
you're so supportive. I wanted to make a note. You incredible boyfriend to be so supportive, and for her to come in, pour the heart out, and you actually embrace her and say, you know, okay, let me help you. Whereas some men will be like, oh, you need to lose weight. Whereas you accepted for who she was, and she wanted to better herself, and then you embraced her and say, okay, let's you know, let's do this. I just wanted to pay you a compliment.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Learn this, okay? Who's ever watching, especially men, it's amazing. You need more men like this. I'm very serious, honestly. Supportive, caring, you know, motivating each other, lifting each other up. This is very inspiring. So Sorry.
I would say that she was very, no, thanks. I would say that she, she was always very supportive through the racing, because I'll be honest, the racing to me was very important. And I looking back, there were days when if it went badly, I probably wasn't myself, and, she could tell that, but she always supported me, and she would never like, oh, why are you being funny? Why are you in a bad mood or anything? She was always,
Right?
it means a lot to him. And I'm going to let him have his space for a little bit, and then we're going to talk about it. And she was always there like, come on, you can do this. And so I think it was my turn to kind of pay it back to her. But I just said, she said, well, I can't do that. Like, that's not me. Thinking in her head, like, I'm not happy on the beach in a bikini, let alone standing against another 60 girls who are all in fantastic shape being judged. I can't do that. And I said to her, I said, okay, there's a bit of genetics that come into play. Like that does factor. I said, but let's just forget about that for a second. I said, what do these girls do? What does anyone that gets on that stage do? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, they diet and they train. She was like, okay. I was like, can you do those two things? She was like, well, yeah. I was like, okay, let's do it then.
And, like a dad said once.
Yeah. I said,
Yeah.
let's do it then. Let's do it. And she was like, okay, will you do it with me? And I was like, yeah. And I just said at the time, I was like, yeah, I'll do it with you. Like, okay. So yeah, that was it, and that's what got us started. So we basically, and it's funny because we started, and again, like I didn't get a coach. I was like, let's do this together. And it's just as you say, it's kind of going back to my dad said, like, we're going to do this together. We're going to learn together. It's going to make us better and everything. So we started at it, and I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. I look back at like what we were doing now, and it was like workouts that were just, they were just crazy. It was like drop sets on every exercise, and like just super intense. And it was just crazy stuff that look back now, and I wouldn't give that to someone now, but just at the time it was just, let's just work really hard and we'll get there, and so we would just have these crazy training sessions. We were like spurring each other on. It was really good. It was a great time. And we did have a little bit of help from a lady at a gym called Carmen. She gave us a little bit of point in the right direction, like what to do, what not to do, with diet and stuff as it got closer and closer, but we mostly did it on our own. And anyway, so it starts getting closer, and to be fair, Katie was actually she was in better shape than I was getting close. I had slacked on my diet a bit leading up to it. She was looking great, and I was a little behind. And this is again where you come back into the story, Sandra. So again, you probably don't know this, but we went to the WBFF posing camp, and it was at Sean Stafford's gym in London, and City Athletic. Yeah, that's the one. So anyway, we're sat there, and obviously you're sat there, and he introduces everyone. And I said to Katie, I was like, remember her from the gym? He said, oh yeah. And anyway, when we did the coaching, they split the boys and the girls, and I went upstairs, and she was downstairs, and you probably didn't know it was her, but you had coached her, and I think she was like I said, she was quite far ahead in her prep. She was like quite lean already, and you had said to her, you gave her a compliment. You said, look, you look great. You're in great shape already. Like, you're going to smash this. And she came up, and the first thing she said to me was like, Sandra said I look great. Like, she said I was in all this great shape. And I was like, that's pretty cool. It's like that journey came full circle again. Like we had seen you in the gym, training for your competition. And then 2 years or however long it was later, we were there, and you were giving her a compliment. So I think for her, that was huge.
And mentor as well. I never say something that I don't mean. I always want to be genuine, because I really focus on that person. I want them, I just, I meant it. She looked great.
Sure,
so
I
didn't realize the impact of giving is a good thing, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah, I think you can see that, and that's probably one thing I'd say about you, in general, having worked around you a little bit and everything, and something that I took away is definitely energy and positivity, all the time. And when I used to watch your group sessions in the gym, I would always be like, wow, like she is 100% energy, all in, all the time, and that's inspiring to be around. Like, I think when someone like that's in the gym, like when you're in the gym, everyone gets lifted up a little bit. Everyone's like, okay, yeah, cool, let's go. Whereas if you have like a bit like, okay, guys, let's do 1 or 2 of these, and whereas you're like, no, come on, like, let's smash this. And even if somebody's doing something wrong, it's like, it's okay, you're putting the effort in. It's I think that's infectious. So that's certainly something that being around you, taught me. So it's something I've tried to emulate now. My coaching is to bring that kind of energy in, and particularly anything group orientated as well, because I noticed that straight away with you and doing your group. So that was great to see. So yeah, so we did the. No, it's my pleasure. And
before we go, but vice versa, like you're so articulate and so like, I understand now why you always got your everything laid out, and you know, you would probably prepare the night before in the morning, like exactly for racing, you know. And this is like insane, and this is maybe why I don't do PT and why I love classes. It's spontaneous. I feel like you know, and I'm not very good at like in like what you are so good, because I'm like, I was never kind of disciplined to do that. And for you, like, to see how professional, you're always there, you're ready, you've written everything down. I'm like, oh man, I need to relearn this. Like, it's like, that's good stuff. And you're always very polite, you're very welcoming, you know, it comes across very professional. I'm always like, I need to be like him more. I need to be like him more. Like, and it's inspiring, is good, because like sometimes we don't get inspired about other PTs, and that's not being horrible. Sometimes people are a bit more arrogant or more like ego. They, you know, I'm not saying about men, but I like came across women. I'm thinking, I just want to make friends with you. Like, you know, I just want to make friends with you. But the fact that someone's kind and helping and professional, that goes so far, like miles. You know, and the way you coach your clients, I've seen working, like, you so, you know, I can see where it's coming from. Like, you do the positivity, you know, like, focus on this, very professional, timekeeping, everything. Like, highly recommend. And I want to know more, like, how is going in the lockdown as well, so you can share that. But I'll let you do.
No, it's good. It's great. No, it's great. So yeah, I mean, you know, so I think you're right. I think you've touched on something really important there, I think, and it's you know, that often in the fitness industry, what you don't see is other professionals sort of lifting each other up. Because I think it's because there's so much conflicting information out there. There's this diet, there's that diet, there's this training method, there's that training method. Everyone wants to be right. Like, everyone wants to be the one who's like, mine's the best. You know, everyone wants to be like, I'm the best guy at this. And the fact of the matter is, and the fact of the matter is, there is no best. Like, what's best is what's, there's so many ways to do it. Like, there's 100 different ways to get fit. There's 100 different ways to lose weight. There's 100 different ways to get strong. You know, just because yours has worked with you and your people doesn't mean it's going to work with everyone. And so I've tried to never look at it that way. And so I think you're absolutely right. And I've tried to never look at it like that. And it goes back to my sport. Is in the racing, I never looked at, I remember there was this guy when I first started, and he was the champion of everything. He used to win races by like a country mile. And everyone used to be like, this guy, he's, you know, he's a real, you know, he's so lucky. And, like, you know, he's, you know, and I remember I looked at him, I was like, he's just a guy. Like, he's the same as everyone else. Like, he, you know, he's no one else. And I looked at him and I was like, he's just a guy. He's very good. I'm just going to learn from him. And so rather than looking at him and being like, rather than looking at him and being like, well, this guy just must be really lucky, or maybe he's got the best engine, or maybe he's got the best mechanic, or maybe he's got the best this, maybe he's just worked the hardest, and maybe he's just doing something better than the rest of us. So let's learn. And so it's the same in fitness. So I try never to look at what someone else is doing, another coach or another client or another whatever, and pick faults in it. Or, you know, if they want my opinion on something, obviously I'll give them my honest opinion, but just look at the stuff they're doing well. You know, look at the stuff they're doing well, because like, and that's what I try to do with you. So like you said, maybe your strength isn't, you know, being super you know, focused on numbers and stuff like I am, which just comes from me, like you said, back in the day, writing down notes, analyzing. That's what I did, and that's how I got successful.
I'm not good at numbers, by the way. I'm not good at analyzing. I'm completely opposite, like a mess of the whole like structure. So when it's like this is what is like inspiring to learn what like I think, no, next time, Sandra, you need to write this down, you know, like, and then like I learned a lot from you just watching. Thinking, Sandra, you need to be more like, you know. But
so then, you know, that's me, because I'm looking at it as my, you know, my racing success was driven a lot by that. And, you know, and then I'm going to personal training world. I'm like, okay, this is how I get successful at personal training: is record everything, write everything down, learn, you know, have everything tapped up. And then actually, you know what, you know, I see someone like you, and very successful, and, you know, has got a long way in the fitness industry, is doing classes, and, you know, not writing stuff down. And so is my way the best way? No, it's not. What it shows is that you've got your own individual strengths. And look to you, and what does she bring? Energy. She's great to be around. You know, you watch her and you look at her go around the gym, you're like, I want to be like that, you know, and it's inspiring. So if you're around that, that's infectious. So, you know, maybe sometimes when I'm stood there spending 2 minutes writing down my notes and my thing, maybe I could just be going, right, that was an awesome set, come on, let's go again, you know, and all this kind. So there's strength and weaknesses to everything, and everyone has a different approach. And what I try and do is I try and see the best bits of what everyone does, and I try and blend them together into my own method that works really well. And I think I'm getting there. I don't think I'm there 100% there yet. I try and learn every day. I try and constantly improve and get better. But yeah, it's being around people like yourself and people who are good at what they do. And I try and not look at the things that maybe not so good at or those kind of things. And sometimes you can learn from that as well. But I just try and focus on someone who's got clients or who's successful or has great classes. And you first thing someone said to me, and this is why I started watching what you were doing in the gym. I went to my class on a Monday. I went to go take it, and I'm like, oh, I did that Sandra's class on Tuesday. I was like, it was amazing. It was so great, and I could tell straight away from the way they were talking and the expression on their face, it was been something that they had not experienced before, either with me or anyone else in the gym. And I was like, okay, I've got to start learning. Why is that? Why is it? Why she got that reaction to it? And it was made me want to have people say that, and so yeah, I think.
Well, I get that as well, saying, oh yeah, and they'll be like, whose class is that? Lucas, like, oh sugar. I'm like, right, Sandra, step it up, right? How can I be organized? Oh my god. And they'll be like, oh good guys, so how much you be lifting last week then? It's like, I've got some notes from Lucas, I kind of know, let him know. But tell him, oh, I've been doing this, brilliant. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, what did you do last week? Well, awesome. Okay, so what we're gonna do today then?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we're like, okay, let's let's go, let's have some fun.
And I think that's where, and I think everyone knows that, and everyone can see the different strengths that we all have, and I think that's where being, maybe not competitive,
both of us,
yeah, exactly. It's being appreciative and recognizing the good stuff you see in other coaches and other people, and I think that I definitely think that that doing that's helped me learn and improve in what I do as PT. And I'm very keen in my training. I probably focus a little bit more in my own training now. I'm probably more driven by like strength training than anything. So and I think it's because it goes back to the racing thing. Like with strength training, like you either hit a number or you don't. Like you either lift it or you don't. You did last week, you did 6 reps. This week you got to do 7. And I love that. I love that process
as well. Like for more, which is good.
Yeah. And anyone that's trained with me probably knows that is I'm very driven by that whole thing of, I always try and make sure they feel like they've left doing something they've not done before. So, maybe it's one exercise and I'm like, okay, the best you've ever done with this is 12 reps. Today, we're not leaving until we do 13, that kind of thing. And, that sounds quite harsh, but it's trying to show them that. And then when they hit it, and even if they don't hit it, I'll find another way. Like, I'll be like, okay, they hit 12, let's say they hit 11. I'm like, okay, right, you're going to rest 30 seconds and you're going to go back in and you're going to get another 4. And they're like, so you've still got your reps. You've just got 15. You've never done that before. You've never done 15 reps of that before. We always find a way. And I try and do that in my own training because that's what I find addictive. I find that whole beating myself thing really addictive. And I love it. And I try and instill that in my client. And I definitely instill that into my sessions. Anyone that's trained me knows that. They'll be like, okay, yeah. Sometimes I guess they think, oh man, last week I did 10, that was really hard. This week I got to do 11. But it's that progress, and I try and sort of instill that if you're progressing in the gym, you'll see the progress in your body. If your goal is to change the way your body is shaped or looked or your body composition, you'll see that those changes you're making in the gym and that progress you're making will translate into progress in your body. And even if it doesn't, at least you can say to them, well, hey, look, maybe they come to me after 4 weeks and they say, Lucas, I'm not seeing this change. Yeah, but look, you've just beaten your numbers. And it can keep the ball rolling until you do see the changes on the scales.